Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again, and welcome back to Movies with an Ensemble Cast Month. And we're not done yet. Now, I want to review this crazy action comedy, spy comedy that I saw today. It's a 2015 movie called The Man from Uncle. It's based on a TV show that came out in the 1960s with Robert Vaughn and David McCallum and so on. And this movie's actually not that bad. I thought it was going to be horrible because I saw the cast and I was not interested. I was like, okay, the guy from Man of Steel, a movie I was not a fan of. The guy from The Lone Ranger with Johnny Depp from 2013. I hated that movie. Alicia Vikander, who I could take her or leave her as an actress, etc. And directed by Guy Ritchie, the guy who did one of the shittiest movies from last year, King Arthur and the Legend of the Sword. But to be fair, this movie is definitely a guilty pleasure for me. As an adaptation of the show, it's actually really flawed, but it's not one of the worst adaptations I've ever seen. Because I've seen Lost in Space, and that hurts me because I love the show, and the movie is horrible. They did everything wrong with that movie, and that movie was boring, long, and tedious. This movie actually is a lot of fun. As a comedy, it is grade A, minus, but it's still grade A entertainment. Basically, this is the origin of the TV show where it's 1963 during the Cold War, and Henry Cavill's character Napoleon Solo is working with a KGB agent named Ilya, who's a Russian spy who works for the government, and they have to work together to stop these guys from making nuclear weapons, to blow up the world and everything, and become higher powers in the world at that time. And basically the hijinks ensue. This movie, if you thought that the freaking Lego movie was crazy and all these other movies were crazy, this movie has got them beat. Like everything in this movie, the choices that Guy Ritchie made in this movie with his cast and with his crew and the freaking soundtrack that he used is just bananas. Like the soundtrack in this movie makes no freaking sense. Like it starts with 60s music, which makes sense because it was at the time. There's a song from the movie Dirty Dancing, and Alicia Vikander's dancing, and there's a scene. It's really weird because she's like jumping on Army Hammer. Granted, they don't have any chemistry together. These two are miles away from each other. Like they don't even kiss in the movie. But they get close. There's a scene where she's dancing and he's trying to dance with her, and then they're like struggling. They're like wrestling, and they're making noise in the hotel. And then the maid comes across and she hears banging and she thinks that they're having sex. That's great. And then she's gonna kiss him, and then she just passes out. I'm like, well, that was a kind of a crazy scene. There's also a scene in the soundtrack where I'm not shitting you. Henry Cavill sitting in a car or a truck, and Ilya's doing all the work fighting these terrorists or whatever in the water, and he's listening to Italian music with a picnic basket and a bottle of wine, and he eats a sandwich, and there's no girl with him. So I'm like, this is kind of romantic setting. Why would you put this in a freaking action movie? And Cavill doesn't have a love interest in this movie. He does have a fling with an Italian chick who's very sexy in the movie. They show her in her panties, which, by the way, it's not gratuitous. This is not a Michael Bay movie. This movie is how crazy is Michael Bay. My friend thought it was boring. Hey, not this movie's not for everyone. You should have known with the Rotten Tomatoes score. It got a 66%. That's not too low. It's a fresh. It's a barely fresh, but hey, I will take this over The Last Jedi any day. Because unlike that movie, which is 2.5 hours of nothing and talking and things that I've seen before, this is definitely different from the TV show. I mean, in this version, Ilya is he's almost a psychopath. If you thought Kylo Ren throwing a hissy fit was over the top, him going, "Eeeh," he ain't got shit on Ilya in this movie. Ilya, if someone just touches him or slaps him in the face, he gets triggered and his hand starts to shake and he's destroying everything like freaking Kylo Ren. It's so laughable. I was like, wow, this guy's got some anger issues. He makes the Hulk look calm. It's just great to watch because I'm like, it's different from the show. It's not copying the show, it's doing something different, but in a good way. It's not dark and gritty because it doesn't need to. This movie, I would have never taken it seriously if it was dark and gritty because I'm like, no, I'm laughing my ass off. Like this movie made me laugh so much. There's a scene where Ilya and Napoleon Solo, Henry Cavill, they look at each other and they look so confused. Ilya's like, and then Cavill has that always that awkward expression on his face. He's like, and then they start fighting with each other, but they're supposed to be friends, and they become friends gradually as the film goes on. Ilya calls him cowboy, and I don't mind Cavill in this movie. He is not the problem with this movie. I know, oh, blasphemous, you hated him in Man of Steel, BVS, because he's playing Superman, and he's so dark and emo that when Batman kicks his ass in Batman versus Superman, I'm like, yeah, because I prefer Batman. So sorry, Cavill, you were never going to win that fight. Even uh, fan wise, fans always prefer Batman over Superman. But anyway, in this movie, he has a smile on his face. He's kind of charismatic. He's not great in the movie, but he's at least trying. He's not phoning it in. There are problems with the movie. I think there's some characters that could have been cut out. You didn't need Hugh Grant in this movie. It's not because he's British. It's because he's in like 3 scenes and he doesn't serve a purpose. Also, Jared Harris, he was the British guy from Mr. Deeds. He doesn't serve a purpose in the movie either. He's like in a couple scenes, he has this weird accent, and he's doing his voice like this, and I'm like, no. If this is not a Christopher Nolan movie, don't even try it. Okay, don't even try it. And it's not because they're British, because I know Cavill is from Jersey and it's some island in the UK. So I'm not gonna bash him for what he is. But these guys easily could have been cut out. They don't serve a purpose. They're not in the movie that much, and they're useless. Alicia Vikander, I'm mixed on her. I'm not gonna say, oh my god, she's the worst thing ever. Blah, blah, blah. I think she's cute, like to look at. Like her face is not so bad compared to other faces I've sat through in this decade. I can look at the very least. Her accent, on the other hand, is very mixed. Half the time she sounds German, then she sounds British, then she sounds Swedish, then she sounds freaking American. It's just a mix. Choose an accent and go for it. If not, then don't have a speaking role because then I don't know what accent you're using. You have Elizabeth Debicki. If you guys don't remember her, she was Goldface Paris Hilton in Guardians 2. I looked at that actress and I'm like, wait a minute, I know that face. And then I looked it up on IMDb. I'm like, oh, Goldface Paris Hilton, the High Priestess from Guardians 2. I love looking at her face because it just brings back warm memories of that freaking movie over there. Guardians 2, which makes me smile. That movie made me laugh my ass off. And only thing I don't like about her in this film is not even her accent. It's she wears these really dark like eyelashes and they look so fake. And they kind of make her like a side villain, but I'm like, you're very attractive. I'm not if I'm attracted to you, then I can't be threatened by you. Like unless you're Wonder Woman, like Chris Pine said in Wonder Woman. I'm actually, attracted to you and scared at the same time. I'm like, yeah, sometimes I get that but not here. I'm just like, you're cute. I don't find you threatening. And also, uh, whatchamacallit, Alicia Vikander's uncle is the villain of the movie. He wears glasses, and then he talks to Solo and them about the weapons. And the action is pretty decent. There's some bad editing, I will say that. Guy Ritchie, you need to fire your editors. You got to stop. Don't shake the camera like this when the guys are running. Don't do quick cuts. Don't be so frenetic. I mean, that works in Lord of the Rings. That works in some of the Bourne movies. It worked in the first. It doesn't work in Taken 2. It doesn't work in some of these movies where they're shaking the camera too much. Man of Steel even has some problems with the editing. Like I always say about that the movie's dark and everything in the writing, but the editing is a mess. Like sometimes I can't see like the flying scenes. I couldn't see shit. It was like this, and I'm like, I don't like the camera shaking like that. I want to see what's going on. But then there's some wide shots. The movie looks really good. The locations in Italy and in the UK and wherever they filmed, it looks great. It actually has a budget. It cost 75 million. I think this movie should have made more than Spectre. Come at me with open arms, YouTube haters. I thought Spectre was boring as fuck. This movie was way faster pace and it made me laugh. And it's not like watching Daniel Craig in that movie where he looks like he wants to slit his wrist. Here, at least Cavill lightened up a little bit, and he knew what the script was. He said this is a crazy action comedy with a lot of focus on comedy, and it's not stupid like fart jokes or nothing like that. There were some jokes I didn't like there's a scene where Ilya goes into the bathroom with a bunch of with these 3 Italian dudes, and they say, "Oh, there's some." It sounded like a gay joke where like, "Oh, you beat a bunch of guys in the bathroom." I'm like, yeah, I didn't want to see that. Also, there were some scenes where they had to make it PG-13, so when Ilya's like going crazy, sometimes they don't show it because they have to cut the violence. But other than that, though, when Ilya's smashing things, I'm like, hey, at least he's not a bitch like Kylo Ren. He's like, "Nah, nah, nah." I'm like, I understand, Ilya. You're an angry Russian guy, and I thought Army Hammer he stole the movie for me. His accent was spot on. He sounded like freaking uh, Jumba from Lilo and Stitch. He was just really fun to watch. He had these cold blue eyes that were calculating, and he was a fun character. He's a different take from the Ilya in the TV show. The Ilya in the TV show is not this violent and this crazy. I know because I've seen some episodes of this show. But like I said, the movie's crazy, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It's not perfect. It has, like I said, some of the editing. The soundtrack is off place. It's not half of the time they're putting Italian music and it fitting a mood that doesn't fit an action scene. It fits more like a romantic scene. And then there's a scene, that they play some jungle music. It sounds like Black Panther. I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work. And the movie's it's just nuts. It made me laugh a lot. Ilya just kills me in this movie. Army Hammer just he knows what kind of movie he signed up for. And if this got a sequel, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I haven't seen the Sherlock Holmes movies, but after seeing this, I want to see this. I want to see both of those movies. And if they do a third one, I'm looking forward to it because Robert Downey Jr. can do no wrong for me now because 10 years he's dominated the box office. But here, it's not a perfect movie, but my God, I was entertained. It didn't bore me to death like Spectre. I was not waiting for something to happen like the third Pirates of the Caribbean, where it's almost 3 hours and we get nothing. We get a big 30-minute battle at the end, and there's rain. It's ugly. There's too much screaming. No, that shit I just can't stand that convoluted messes. Give me a plot that's straightforward. This is two spies are up to stop these freaking terrorist group from launching nuclear missiles. It's that simple. It's not. Also, there's a little problem with some of the subtitles in the movie. Like some of the subtitles look fine. You can read them. Other times it's either way too big and it's in my face like this, or it's so small that it's like a text message. I'm like, be consistent. There's a reason why people hated The Last Jedi because it's not consistent. They take ideas and steal them, and then they can't even keep up with the ideas that they're going along. It's just like everything is convoluted. They just want to making shit up as they go along. Here, no, just put the subtitles in one font. That's all you need. You do not need to put it gigantic because you're not Civil War. You're not going to do that. That movie had perfect subtitles. It did not need to be super giant. Just be subtle. I mean, actually, wait a minute. No, I'm wrong. This movie's not subtle. When Guy Ritchie signed on to this movie, he said, "I am gonna make a James Bond style movie with an opening that has singing and not a Jason Bourne movie, like a Mission Impossible movie." And he said, "Fuck subtlety. We're gonna do everything to make this crazy and make it a cartoon and make it over the top and just let these actors do their job." And for the most part, it works. I don't think it's terrible. Like the critics were harsh on it, saying that it's uninspired, but I think the actors, for the most part, the ones that are in the film a lot, get the job done. There were some Italian actors and Russian actors that are not in the film that much, that don't serve a purpose. It's just there to be stereotypes. Hey, they're not in the film that much. The leads are Army Hammer, Lisa Vikander, and Henry Cavill. That should have been the worst casting ever. But after seeing Rogue One and Episode 7 and the castings for all these other films, even other shitty films like Jupiter Ascending and the new Terminator movie that came out a couple years ago, or the new RoboCop remake reboot, yeah, I'll take this over any of that. Or even freaking this is done by Warner Brothers. Yet this movie is less edited than freaking Suicide Squad. This is coherent. I can follow it. It's not perfect, but damn it, it tried. And this movie made less than that. How does a rainbow colored mess like Suicide Squad make over $700 million worldwide, and this movie only made 109? There's no justice in this world. No justice. I know there were a lot of spy thrillers that were better than this. You had Spy, you had Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, and you had freaking what was another one? Uh I think there was another one. I forgot. I know there was a Spectre, but I didn't care for it. I just thought it was boring. But here, and you had this movie. So there was a lot of spy movies at that time, and uh, but I think it delivers. It's not even Guy Ritchie's worst movie. I think King Arthur's is worse that I've seen so far. Because just, good God, that movie was boring and had horrible CGI. This movie, no terrible CGI. There's good stunt work. The action is mostly fluid, and the actors are trying. And the movie is hilarious. I was laughing my ass off with my sister. We laughed hard at this, like I was watching an Eddie Murphy movie, or the first Die Hard, or something like that, or even a 1940s comedy. Like, it hit the sweet spot. I've seen so much dark, depressing crap in this year and in the last 8 years. I'm like, I needed something to laugh. I needed something to make me laugh, like Deadpool 2 did. It made me laugh my ass off. This movie did the same thing. And it doesn't have every typical joke of sex and drugs and freaking fart jokes. There's a scene in this movie there's an action scene in this movie that made me laugh. It's a scene that Army Hammer is going to do this chop, and he goes whasa, and he hits a guy's head, and he's out for 20 seconds. I was like, oh my god, what was that? It's a cartoon, but it made me laugh. I would definitely get this movie on Blu-ray or DVD because it made me smile. I was not expecting much. Oh my god, Cavill is gonna hurt this movie, and he didn't. So Fallout, there's nothing he can do to ruin that movie now because he's not the lead. He's a villain. He has a mustache, and him and Cruz are gonna go at it. And that movie has a better chick than this movie. Alicia Vikander's nice to look at. She has a little face, but acting wise, just choose an accent and stay with it. If you can't use your normal accent, just don't talk. Do sign language or be like the girl from Logan. Don't talk. Just scream or something. Just don't talk if you're gonna have a inconsistent accent. Just saying. It wasn't British. It was just like really weird, and I don't know. It just took me out of it a bit with her. But when she's not talking, it's not so bad, and her face is cute and her skin is tan, so I can't really complain too much about her compared to what I've been through. I'll give a passable actress over a freaking cancerous actress any day. But anyway, Man from Uncle is not terrible. The critics were wrong. It got a 7.3 on IMDb. I like the film. It's not perfect. I don't love the film. I don't think it's Oscar worthy, but screw it. Sometimes I want to be entertained, and it was a boring Monday, so I watched it with my sister and I laughed my ass off. So I can't complain about that. But anyway, any of the Nerd Pack guys have never seen this movie. I know Sean did. He didn't care for it. Fine. But the rest of you guys, it's definitely a high recommendation because if you want some craziness and laughter, I would recommend this at least once because it's worth it for the laughs alone. Because I was laughing. I'm like, this is a comedy, right? And it is. So good direction. And like I said, it's not as bad as the critics said it was. It did not deserve to underperform. It's better than Spectre. I was never bored. And the movie was like almost 2 hours. I didn't feel it at all because I've seen longer this year. But anyway, that's what I thought about the Man from Uncle movie. Not as bad as the critics said it was. I really enjoyed it for what it was. There's a lot of movies here this year that did not even interest me, even with the trailers. I'm like, this is gonna be better than that freaking shitty The Spy Who Dumped Me movie with Mila Kunis and gay Kate McKinnon. That movie is gonna suck. I didn't laugh once in the trailer with what I saw. I'm like, this is gonna be cliche. The jokes are gonna be you're gonna see from far away. They're gonna fall flat, and you got two lead girls that have no chemistry, and it's gonna be stupid. And I don't care for those two actresses anyway. Here, I like Army Hammer. He steals the freaking movie for me. He's like the Jack Sparrow of this movie because he is the character that steals everything from everybody else. And I don't mean take it. I'm saying that it's the spotlight's on him and it works. And he gets so crazy and neurotic in this movie. I could relate to it, and it made me laugh. And him and Cavill, not bad chemistry. I think they have better chemistry than other actors that I've seen this year and in the last 10 years. But anyway, guys, that's my thoughts about the Man from Uncle movie from 2015. It should have done better. I don't understand how Warner Brothers edits the shit out of their DC movies, yet this is not a DC movie, and it was mostly competently made by Guy Ritchie. And it doesn't look cheap. It's well done. The acting's not that bad. And it was fun for what it was. So take that with a grain of salt. I will not apologize for liking this movie. I think it's fun. This and Keeping Up with the Joneses surprised the hell out of me because I was not expecting much. And I got laughs. And I got some sexiness, which is always a plus. As a straight guy that wanted to see sexiness in Disney Wars, I didn't get that. I didn't get a single leg or thigh or freaking arm or nothing. No, I get nothing. I get faces that are just bland. At least Vikander, she's not as sexy as you think. She's more like a cutesy girl. Her outfit's very colorful, very light, and she looks good. I'm gonna say it. There was a scene that reminded me of Wonder Woman, which is good because that movie was awesome. Another triumph from Warner Brothers. See, let the directors do their film. Don't edit it to crap. Don't freaking take things out that we want to see. Don't try to sanitize it like you did with Die Hard. Die Hard didn't need a PG-13. The fourth movie would have been fine without it, because I'm like, I enjoy that movie. It's awesome. It kicks ass. I'm gonna probably see it tomorrow for Maggie Q's birthday. But again, stop interfering in these movies. Just stop it. Let the directors do their job. When you do that, case in point, all these movies behind me kicked ass because the directors did their job. All of the directors, whether they're male or female, is irrelevant. It's if they do it right. And I think Guy Ritchie did fine here. It's not as painful as King Arthur. Trust me. I was like, wow, King Arthur was a bigger budgeted movie and it looked like shit. This is actually competent at the very least. And that's all I can say about that. So, yeah, Man from Uncle was not horrible. I'm very surprised. I'm It's a movie, a spy thriller that was not boring, and it had at least it had some action in it, and it knew what it was. So, take care, guys, and I will see you in the next review.